Welcome back to our draft recap of the 2023 NBA draft. We're joined by Jordan Watson, who helped break us down the 5 picks that we thought we were going to get. We actually didn't do the last one, taking the third to last pick in the draft, but we'll cover that a little bit. This time, we're welcoming Porter Troupe into the fold, who has done a little bit of the breakdowns. I think it was last year when we did the NBA Live commentary. So welcome back, guys. Porter, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you too. What's up, G?
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
And Jordan joins us a little bit on the move, but no worries. He's a busy guy. We're happy to get into his schedule. But number one overall, Victor Wembanyama, the pick that we saw coming for probably over a year. The only question was what team was going to get him for a period of time. And then obviously at the lottery, it was nothing but a formality. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the preview, but Porter, Jordan, why don't you guys get your commentary going on what we can exactly see from Victor Wembanyama in his first season with the Spurs, what you've heard a little bit. I think Pop has weighed in talking about creating the environment for him. But take it away, guys.
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like obviously he's a project, but the Spurs haven't been good in so long, so they need to rebuild kind of what they've had in the past. Obviously, the talent is off the charts just based on the size alone, being that mobile at that size. I'm sure that they'll try to find ways to get him in space, to use his foot speed, ball handling, and just let him go out there and fail and have successes. I mean, at the end of the day, that's, he's going to be their franchise cornerstone. So they're going to let him go out there and play, make mistakes. But yeah, special talent. Let's see how he adjusts to the physicality and the speed of the game at the NBA level.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm excited to see him in Summer League if he's going to play. I've heard some grumblings that he might not play in Summer League. But I think we'll get a good feel because I know in Summer League, a lot of the times they give these coaches some freedom, but they also want to implement some of the sets and things that they'll be doing during the season in there. So I think we'll get a good feel if he does decide to play in the system that they'll be running for him with movements and spaces they'll have him working in. And then they got some good young talent around him also. It's not like he's just going into a place where it's just completely terrible. Like the talent is young. And then you mix in Pop's pedigree and that staff, developing talent. I'm excited to see it.
Off the recording in our group chat, Jordan, to put you on the spot, I think at some point you said you weren't 100% sold on him. And Porter brings up the F word, the fail word, which is obviously something that, people do on a regular basis, and that's how you get better sometimes. But I think you expressed some hesitation at one point about you weren't 100% sold on him. So if you could elaborate on that.
Okay, well, obviously everybody sees the talent and the skill and the size, The thing about it is just like we've never seen somebody this big before stay healthy, being that tall and that thin. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the question mark for everyone. It's not a talent thing. It's also like, man, can your body hold up? Because tall, thin guys, from my experiences, not my experience, just what I've seen in the league, they go through these injuries. Look at KD, look at Porzingis. They just have these. I mean, and I'm saying those guys more so because skill level and talent level is like, well, who do we compare them to, really? And it's like they've had multiple injuries. So that's my biggest question. Like, man, like, is he gonna be able to hold up to be who he can be? Like, you look at LeBron, who's kind of had the most hype since him. His body is built for it. That strong 6'8", 6'9" frame. To take all these bumps and playing multiple games during the week and flying around. His body's built for it. That's just the question mark that we all have for Victor.
So to be clear, not necessarily a skill level question or anything in particular you see there, just a matter of health, really.
Yeah, just a matter of health, staying healthy.
Yeah, I like to second that too. I think also with him, it's going to be, when you're the number one pick and everybody is gunning for you, how is he going to deal with that? You know, deal with guys that are going to be in his face, in his chest all the time. Because yes, he's played pro basketball, but it's not the same thing like Luka, who was a contributor at 17, 16. You know, this is the first year where he's really had a big role on a team. Obviously, the team was built around him and they let him do whatever he wanted. And for his credit, they did well in the French league. But it'll be a different thing on the NBA stage where you have guys that are grown men at his position who are going to take that matchup personally. And I'm interested to see how that goes too, because like Jordan's talking about with the injuries, guys are going to be, the book on him is going to be to beat him up for sure, you know, and that is probably that he saw, you know, those two things will be things that are going to get exposed or tried to be exposed this season. So I'm interested to see that. And you know, that's one of the things that'll probably keep me from saying that he's a surefire superstar, you know?
I mean, for me, what I've seen, and I paid attention to it, like, he's got like a little attitude, like a little mean streak, you know what I mean? And it's like, also, if you listen to some of the things he said, like, yeah, Scoop would probably be the number one pick if I wasn't around. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, people might not like to hear things like that, but you kind of have to have that slight arrogance to yourself that feel like, no, I know I'm the guy, and I know people are going to be coming for me. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fine line of arrogance and just knowing what the situation is. Also, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
he would be a fool not to think people aren't coming for him, not to think that people don't think the world of him, not to think that, like, no, I really am 7 foot whatever, and I'm talented and skilled, and I know I'm that guy. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have this mindset a little bit. You can still treat people with respect, but you have to know who you are and who people perceive you to be. You know what I mean?
And to your point, I mean, I think one of the things that bodes well, exactly what you're saying, not only have you heard the, you know, like you said, the mean streak, but in terms of what he said on draft night and kind of the way that he reacted, even though he knew he was going to be the number one pick in all likelihood for over a year, pretty humble, pretty nice statements in terms of the impact that it had on him too. So to your point, I think you're kind of seeing a good blend of all those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's perfect for marketing, perfect for actually getting it done on the court.
We've got somebody that played for the same team that is off the board quickly next, and I think that the comment was something about how Bilal Coulibaly should be probably a top 5 or top 10, if not top 5 pick, and that was from Wembanyama himself. And sure enough, Wizards were at 8. They traded up to 7 to select him. He was a player that was rising quickly across a lot of draft boards. And to that point, again, like I said, the Wizards traded up to get him. Now that it's actually settled in where he is, given all the roster turnover that the Wizards have done, and who knows if they're even completely done yet, but take us through the draft fit there for him in the short term and best as you can evaluate it short, long term, I guess.
I mean, I liked him. You know, I mean, I know we talked about in the pre-draft breakdown how, like, when he was playing with the professional team, he was more 3-and-D slashing off the ball. But then if you actually watched him when he was playing with the youth team, man, he's getting in the lane, he's Euro stepping, he's playing some ball screens, he's playmaking for him. So I'm anxious to see how that translates to, like, his first season. And again, in Summer League, you know, I think in Summer League, you'll probably see more of what he was doing with the youth team because, I mean, you go that high in the draft pick, like, they're going to give you the ball and let you be yourself, you know, that's kind of what they want. So, again, mixed in with the pieces that they have, we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see how much he ends up having the ball and what all he can do. But that's why, again, I'm anxious to see how it goes more with him in Summer League because he's actually somebody that people haven't seen that much and they don't know about. And for him to go that high, it's like, okay, let's see who this guy is.
Porter, you actually were not part of the pre-draft breakdown like Jordan was. So, I mean, is there anything that you can add in terms of him as a player and also now the fit before I kind of ask the ultimate question for the really short term? Jordan Poole, Tyus Jones, how does he fit in amongst those?
Yeah, I liked his. He kind of has everything in his game. He's still young, so you got to give him time to develop. But I like when I watched him, even with with the senior team. He's pretty flexible, plays with the ball without it, athletic, has a good looking shot. It doesn't. I mean, I think he shot like 21% or something when he was with the junior team. But if you look at the way he shoots it, with the confidence that he shoots it, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a good shooter. Um, he's 18, which is a big thing. He's not 19 yet. He's 18, which means that he could still grow. And he's already like 6'7" or something like that. So maybe he gets to 6'9" or something like that. I really like his potential and his upside. And Washington, like the Spurs, haven't done anything in years. They just got rid of Bradley Beal. I think that's a project for the next 5 or 6 years. So it's a perfect spot for him. And they also got the Israeli guy, Danny, I forget. Yeah, they got him there too. And
who is
they were
the
trying to play
longest tenured Wizard at the age of 22.
Right. And they were trying to play him at the 4 or at the 3, sorry. And he's not a 3, he's a 4. So I think they're kind of, with Poole and Tyus Jones, you throw that in there, you got a young core for the future.
So let me actually ask you this question, because it's been asked. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and a lot of Wizards fans want to know, like, kind of what the expectations should be for him in year one. Given the fact that he is super young, they're definitely aware of that he's 18 and that he does have some to grow, whether that's not only physically but also as a player. But year one, what do you kind of see from him, along with the pieces that are kind of alongside of him? I would imagine Jordan Poole is probably going to be a vast majority of the offense, and they're probably going to try to not only allow him to shoot like he wants to shoot, but also probably to showcase him, maybe to have some sort of trade value. So I'm assuming that's going to be an aspect. But how do you see Coulibaly fitting in the mix there?
I just feel like it's a good fit. I don't think you should expect more than 12, 13 points at the maximum per game. And that's if he's playing well. I would see him maybe first, second guy off the bench, getting maybe 20 minutes, getting some energy plays. And maybe kind of like they're different players, but kind of like the Jonathan Kuminga, his first year in Golden State, where he has a lot of talent. He'll show flashes, but he won't play that much. I mean, it'll be Jordan Poole's show, in my opinion, next year. He'll average 28 points and go crazy. That's what I think.
It'll be interesting to see how they organize the playing time and the lineups, because I can see Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole clocking some minutes together. And then maybe when one of those is off, he'll get a chance to have the ball a little bit more on the wing some. So I think he'll be in the mix of having sometimes, most of the times not, just depending on the lineup. But again, when you get drafted that high, they're going to push you. They're going to push you to lift the team up. And what you got, about 3 years? You know what I mean? They'll give them that opportunity, that chance. First year, who knows? But second year, they're looking for a big improvement, big jump up. So yeah, I like the piece ahead of 12, 13 points. That would be cool.
It was a little bit of a gap between pick 7 and pick 31, the first pick of the second round. Hornets use it to draft somebody that you really liked in the pre-draft assessments, and James Nagy, Jordan. So Porter, we actually didn't hear from you again on him. What were your thoughts about him, and now ultimately where he went with the Hornets, and liking the fit or not liking the fit?
Yeah, I like the fit. Very strong body, athletic, can run the floor, especially with Melo there. That's a nice pick and roll combination. Obviously, he needs to learn the NBA game. I think he needs to get a little bit more skilled, but I love the fit. Just, it depends on how he adjusts to life in the NBA, but I think he could be really good.
Jordan?
Yeah, I think they got a pretty, I want to call him a steal, going second round. I was a big fan of him just being athletic and jumping around, covering a lot of ground. Yeah, I think that's important. Like I said, okay, he's not much of a shooter, and in today's game, that could be an issue. But, man, he was covering a lot of ground, just ball screen defense to being at the rim pretty fast and blocking shots and getting rebounds and dunking. So, and I think it said pairing them with Melo. You got Brandon Miller coming in. You got guys, dynamic guys, make plays. So it'll make his life pretty easy.
I was going to say, you mentioned not much of a shooter, at least right now, and really kind of doesn't have to be with, like you said, with Melo there. Brandon Miller was a solid pick as well. So I think the fit there, kind of general consensus is that it was a good pick, and that he's going to be somebody to watch there in the Hornets roster. Wizards actually popping back up again. They're dipping back into the international pool at pick 42. Tristan Vukcevic, he was somebody that we also evaluated very early on, and I think that you were saying, Jordan, that you really liked his shot in particular. How does he factor in with the Wizards in the short and longer term? And again, it's tough to evaluate because this roster is undergone an overhaul and likely will probably see some tweaks and modifications. But if you could take us through what you would expect to see, if you think he's going to be a draft and stash, or if he's going to be coming over, what role would he play?
I think it's a drafting stash personally. Give him a chance to grow into his body because he's got this long, lanky build, still relatively young. But like I was saying, I think his skill set was really amazing to me for that size. You know what I mean? Like, he's not necessarily off the dribble, but when you shoot that good, he's smart enough and has enough skill set to get to his pull-ups, and it looked fluid. You know what I mean? Like, 2G, there's one clip I remember vividly, shot fake 2 dribble pull up, and I'm like, whoa, that was different for a guy that size. You know what I mean? So I think, like I said, I think it's a draft and stash. But again, when you're dealing with guys like Poole, who are going to be creating a lot of things, they just need space. You know what I mean? Get in the lane and do their thing, and you're just there to help them for the most part. Defensively, he got to get stronger. But what is he's Yugoslavian, and they usually have like a little mean side to them. You know what I mean? Like, they're not soft Europeans that most people would like to label them as, so it'll be interesting to see when he grows into his body.
And while he was talking, I saw Porter shaking his head in agreement. But if you could try to either say why you agree or expand on that.
Yeah, I just feel like the biggest thing is his skill level, creating off of shot fakes, off of closeouts. He's going to be a really valuable spacer. You got a guy like Jordan Poole and then Tyus Jones, guys that want to get in the lane, play pick and roll, get downhill. You need guys that can make plays off of kickouts. And from what I watched, he was already extremely effective at that. I like the pick. I do think he needs time to grow into his body. He looks like he's probably 20 pounds away from his grown man frame. So he needs time to get to that. I don't know how old he is. How old is he, 19?
He's 20.
20. So, I think when he's 22, 23, he reminds me a lot of like Juancho from Spain, but he's bigger than him. You know what I'm saying? And I think more talented. So we'll see how it turns out for him. But I really like the fit. I like his skill set, and I'm excited to see him probably get a big role in EuroLeague next year.
Yep, and I checked it actually while we were talking there. He is 20 years old, and again, just to kind of circle back, this was something that Jordan and I talked about in the draft preview, that he had a really good combine. Now, granted, it's only one game, but he was able to put up quite a bit of points in a short amount of minutes. So that's certainly encouraging, and to your point, and I think that, yeah, like you said, maybe an expanded role in EuroLeague is right what we should expect for him in 2023-2024 season. Don't have to wait too long for the next pick. We covered Ryan Rupert in the draft preview. He was somebody that when we talked about him, I think a couple months ago, he was somebody that was rising quickly, kind of like Koulibaly actually ultimately did, but then he kind of fell back into the second round at pick 43, but goes to the Blazers. As we sit here, we're kind of in the annual, what are they going to do with Dame, if anything? So it's going to be a little tough to predict, but what do you see from him, if he's going to be a draft and stash this year, or if the youth movement is going to be on? So kind of try to evaluate that and see what you're going to try to predict for 2023, 2024. It's going to be tough, so go to it.
I can see him getting a lot of G League minutes. being a guy coming from New Zealand already, where they play that up and down space. You know what I mean? Who knows? Again, with what's going on with Dame and Scoot, who knows, right? But and you still got Ant Simons there. Like it'll be tough for him to crack some minutes, I think, unless they start moving some pieces. So I think in the G League he might get a lot of time, a chance to play, develop, play there. But I really like this game, just long arms, being a defender, getting downhill, making plays for guys. You know, like I like this game. I also like when he got drafted. Like I'm watching him. Like some of these guys were upset that they slipped in the draft. You know what I mean? Like visibly upset. He slipped down, but he still walked up there with a smile and was happy. You know what I mean? And it's like that could speak to his personality as a player, as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying being upset about that, not getting drafted as high as you wanted is a bad thing. Like you might need that chip also. You know what I mean? But him is like, from where he came from, he's like, you guys gonna give me an opportunity. I'm about to take full advantage of this.
I think speaking on the Blazers for a second, I just feel like the Blazers need to. I don't think they're going to move Dame. So in saying that, I don't see him getting any minutes up there. I think, with Shaden Sharp, now Scoop, and then you got Simons, and I believe they'll go after a free agent, wing. I don't see him getting much time there. I think maybe for sure we'll get G League minutes, and then maybe be used as a piece to bring in somebody else. Because a guy like that falling the way he fell, he was supposed to be late first round, falling to the second round. I feel like teams maybe something scared him, or they didn't believe in his long-term potential. So a team like the Blazers, who are trying to scoop up assets to build themselves into a contender, I feel like he's one of those who will just be moved on later. Show something in the G League, show that you have some potential, show that we were all wrong, and then we can move you for somebody else. Because I don't see him coexisting with like a Shaden Sharp and Simons and now Scoop, or if they move Scoop for somebody else or Dame or whatever. Like I just don't see him cracking that and being a contributor. So I believe he'll be given his shot in the G League. Hey, go do your thing, go get some numbers, and maybe we'll trade you and build this team up some more.
All right, so there was one that kind of took us a little off guard in terms of our draft preview. He was kind of on the radar. Don't get me wrong, because he ultimately was selected. But the Grizzlies at 56, one of the last picks in the draft, drafted a guy that played a little bit for Fenerbahce this last year, Tariq Baberovic. Porter, probably going to lead off with you, considering that you watched quite a bit of them this year. Obviously, didn't necessarily get a lot of minutes on the big stage, but take us through what you've seen from him.
Yeah, so like I said, he didn't play a lot in EuroLeague. He played spot minutes, and from what I saw, it was a guy that he was just kind of a grinder, just kind of put his hard hat on and worked hard. I'm not sure what his future or his prospects are in the NBA. Like, I'm not sure he'll even touch an NBA floor ever. I think he might be another case of draft and stash, or use his rights to acquire some other talent. I think he needs more time. Obviously, I think he played like 4 minutes a game in EuroLeague, and was it 14 minutes a game in the Turkish league? So I think that's a case of somebody who's raw still. Obviously, they like his energy and his upside, but I need to see more. For me to make a judgment on his NBA prospects.
I think just playing in Fenerbahce is definitely a great place to be for a young guy. Okay, not necessarily meaning you're going to get so many minutes and playing time, but they kind of have a history of some younger guys being there who have made leaps and jumps, and they'll give a young guy a chance, some spot minutes, just come in and work hard, do your thing. And I know they got tons of coaches over there that love working with young guys. I just remember seeing all the coaches they had on the bench when I played in Turkey. I'm like, okay, so they're obviously there to develop these young guys, so it'll be interesting to see. I think he's somebody we can definitely keep talking about throughout the season and even next year, and see what's going on with him though.
Well, I didn't ask you to do, but that's just about the perfect segue. We're probably going to be breaking down the 2024 class here a little early and trying to keep tabs on them. So that's as good a spot as any. We're not only at the end of the 2023 draft class, as far as the internationals. Thank you guys so much for helping us break down not only in terms of what you saw again, kind of as a recap, but also as far as where their fits are and kind of where you see them going. I know that fans of each of those fan bases will really kind of appreciate that insight, especially exactly what are we going to get this year and what are we going to kind of expect to see. So thank you guys so much. Glad to see you're both doing well. Hello, and thanks for watching. Be sure to give the video a like, and you can watch more videos over here. You can also click subscribe over here so you're notified when we have new content here on Expat Hoops.